Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission here, as always, is to take a huge stack of sources, articles, research, some really specialized notes, and just boil it all down.
Right into the essential, surprising, and, the actionable knowledge you need to be genuinely well-informed.
And today, we are plunging deep. I mean, this is a big one. It's the philosophy of modern leadership. Specifically, we're focusing on this non-negotiable trait of clarity and how AI fits into all of this.
And we're going to treat the machine, whether it's GPT, Gemini, whatever, we're going to treat it exactly like a high-performing employee.
A high-performing, but very, very literal employee.
And that's the whole framework, right? That analogy, treating the AI like a new hire, is the single most important lens we're pulling from today's sources.
It changes everything.
It does, because the core concept is, I think, simple, but it's also kind of revolutionary. Success in managing anything powerful, whether it's a person or an algorithm, it just hinges entirely on the quality of context you give it.
So writing isn't just, sending an email anymore.
No, not at all. It becomes this deep, rigorous form of active thinking. It's how you prove to yourself that your thoughts are clear.
Absolutely. And this is what the sources are calling the meshed world, where AI and human skills are they're completely tangled together.
Inextricably linked, yeah.
Which leads to this pivotal realization, I think. The defining skill, the one that separates the leaders who are going to thrive from those who, frankly, risk becoming useless, is mastering how you deliver that context.
If you can't clarify your intent, you can't lead the machine.
And if you can't lead the machine, eventually you can't lead the person. So let's unpack this huge shift, starting with a claim that I have to admit made me stop and think. Okay, so let's get right into it. This initial claim from the sources is it's a bold one. That today, right now, generative AI models are better idea generators than humans.
Yeah, that one makes people uncomfortable.
It does. My first reaction was skepticism. I mean, how can a machine really, truly outcreate a person?
Well, and it's important to frame it correctly. It's not really a judgment on human novelty. We still have that unique spark, that ability to invent something truly new from like a random life experience or an emotion.
Right. A machine hasn't lived a life.
Exactly. But the sources define better idea generator based on something else: output, scalability, and reliability.
Okay, break that down.
Think about a really smart human in a brainstorming session. They might have 3, maybe 4 genuinely good ideas for a new marketing campaign or something.
The first few are always the best.
They are, but after that, they just hit a wall. Their ideas get generic, predictable, they start repeating themselves or falling back on what worked last time.
It's just human nature.
Yeah.
The brain defaults to the path of least resistance after you've used up that initial burst of creativity.
It's pure cognitive load. AI, on the other hand, when you feed it good, high-quality context and specific constraints, it just offers this endless stream of structurally sound ideas.
I can get tired.
It doesn't get tired, it has no personal bias, and it can explore every single permutation of the prompt. It can just exhaust all the possibilities in a way a human brain literally can't. So for most tasks that need thoroughness and breadth, the AI wins the idea race.
Which puts enormous pressure on anyone whose main job value was just generating those first few concepts.
Oh, absolutely. If AI can churn out unlimited first drafts or design mock-ups, the value isn't in making the thing anymore.
So what is it in?
It's in directing the thing. This is what accelerates us into that meshed world. It's not AI or humans, it's a synthesis. If your only value is a highly specialized, repetitive skill like, photo retouching or writing basic code, you are fundamentally at risk.
Because AI is just taking over that skill stuff faster and cheaper.
Exactly. So the useful human in this new world, they're the one focusing on the high-level application of that skill. They're building the business around the AI's output.
They're doing the soft skills, the negotiating.
And most importantly, they're providing that dense, high-quality context that directs the machine. And then, critically, they verify its output against the real world. You go from being a worker to being a director.
I get the shift from execution to direction. But let's go back to that core idea of thinking. The sources argue that writing isn't just documenting your thoughts.
Sure.
It's a type of thinking. It's active thinking.
That's the bedrock of this entire deep dive. Unclear writing is almost always 100% of the time a sign of unclear thinking.
We've all been in meetings where we feel like we've grasped a problem.
Right. You have that feeling of understanding, but it's often just, it's passive, it's fuzzy. It's not until you force yourself to articulate it, to structure it into a prompt or a detailed memo, that you find all the holes in your own logic.
Can you give us a business example of that fuzziness?
Sure. A leader might stand up and say, we need to improve our landing page conversion rate this quarter.
Sounds clear enough.
It sounds clear, but it's actually incredibly fuzzy. It leaves a dozen questions unanswered. Which landing page? For what product? Targeting who? By how much? Using what metrics to define success?
So the thought hasn't been formalized into an instruction?
Not at all. Active thinking, the writing part, forces that clarity. It turns into, we will run A/B tests on the headline copy for the Q3 Pro Service landing page, targeting our enterprise demographic in North America, and we're aiming for a 2% lift in signups.
That's exhausting to write out.
It is, but it eliminates a week of guesswork for the entire team. And that brings us to the execution test.
Which is?
The only way you can really confirm that your thinking was clear is when it's put into action and it leads to the result you wanted. If your team comes back with a mess or needs 5 follow-up meetings,
then your initial thinking was the problem, not their execution.
Precisely. And this is where we have to understand AI's current limitation, which is huge. If we upload 1,000 documents from a leader, all their emails, all their scripts, the AI can mimic their style perfectly.
It'll sound just like them.
It will adopt the vocabulary, the cadence, everything. But it can't mimic the thinking, because it lacks true intent and real-world context awareness. It's a pattern matcher. It can't extrapolate a totally new situation or, make an ethical judgment call.
So if there's a new legal requirement, like a new privacy law,
the AI will use the right tone, but it's going to miss that critical, timely legal constraint because it's not in its training data from last year. It can mimic style, but it can't apply genuine, up-to-the-minute thought. And that's what keeps the human in the driver's seat.
Okay, so once we start seeing AI as this incredibly powerful tool with zero intent, we have to talk about the Katie Genie thought experiment.
The literal genie or karmic debt genie, it's such a great mental model.
It's perfect because it illustrates the failure point of poor instructions.
Yeah.
Whether you're giving them to an AI or an eager new employee.
The genie analogy just forces you to confront how catastrophic vagueness can be. You suddenly realize how much invisible context and common sense we layer onto our requests every single day.
So let's break down those naive wishes from the sources. The first one, infinite content ideas.
Sounds great, right? A dream for any creator.
A total nightmare in reality. The literal execution is horrific. The genie just floods your brain with a truly infinite, simultaneous stream of ideas.
It's a data cascade, an overload. The person's nervous system just collapses.
You can't even stand still. Okay, so what about the second wish? All the secrets of the universe.
Same problem, different flavor. All of cosmic history, existential truth, everything, jammed into your brain at the exact same moment. The result is just instant sensory alliteration. You can't process it.
And then there's the one people think is clever. Unlimited money.
Right. They try to outsmart the genie. They'll ask for ownership of all the top companies in the world.
But the genie executes that literally and instantly.
And this massive unexplained transfer of ownership just crashes the global stock market. The entire financial world panics. And worse, you now inherit all the lawsuits, all the liabilities, all the regulatory baggage of every major corporation on Earth.
So you get all the power, but also all the problem.
An unmanageable, toxic level of problems. Or, if you just ask for cash, it dumps a mountain of it on you and you drown. The lesson is just so painfully clear.
The genie, like the AI, will execute your words exactly as you said them.
It fills any gaps in context with its default setting, which is just literal, maximum fulfillment, and it doesn't care about your safety or your actual intent.
So how do you get it right? How do you prompt the genie or the AI correctly?
You have to define the constraints. That's the whole game. You have to engage in this surgical, almost legalistic precision.
So instead of unlimited money,
the instruction becomes, I want exactly $500,000 deposited into this specific bank account, delivered only through non-fraudulent means, sourced as legitimate income for services rendered from a large, reputable, solvent company, with all the paperwork filed for taxes.
You have to solve all the problems for it ahead of time.
You have to, and that level of detail is context.
So how does this scale from a genie to an actual office? Let's use the ice cream analogy from the sources. It's simple, but it scales perfectly.
Right. So you ask an AI to generate a picture of an ice cream cone.
And you get randomness. Vanilla, chocolate, maybe some weird purple swirl.
It fills the context gap with a generic average. Now contrast that with asking your best friend what flavor you should get.
They'll get it right almost every time.
Not because they're psychic, but because you share deep personal context. They know you hate nuts, you prefer sour flavors, you had a bad mint experience last week.
But if I ask a coworker,
they'll probably guess chocolate or vanilla. They're filling the void with their context or with what's generally expected, and it's probably wrong for you.
And this is the danger that gets compounded across a whole company. Most employees can do the skill, they can write the code. But if you give them poor context, they'll just fill the gaps with assumptions from their last job or their personal taste.
Which is almost certainly wrong for your brand, your client, your strategy. It's this massive hidden friction cost.
And this is why companies overpay for experience and taste.
Exactly. They hire for that so the employee can automatically repair the poor brief that management gives them. If a manager is known for being vague, they need a veteran employee who has developed a sixth sense for what the manager actually secretly wants.
So when I hire a senior designer from a top agency, I'm not just buying their skills, I'm buying their preloaded context.
You're buying their context filling capability. They already know how to talk to clients, how to structure files, what a professional tone is. You don't have to explain it because their last job already did.
And this gets deeper the longer people work together. The sources say that years of working with a leader builds this shared context that's so deep
that the employee can make high-stakes decisions on the leader's behalf. They know the leader's mental model so well they can basically act as a proxy.
And that's what a new hire or an AI completely lacks.
Which means if you want them to be effective on day one, the leader has to learn how to take all that unspoken, deep context and put it down in writing.
Okay, so if the literal genie story scares us into being clear, what are the actual tools we use on a Monday morning to deliver that clarity?
Right, let's move from philosophy to implementation. The sources are just absolutely 100% clear on this. The single best way to give context is with examples.
Examples.
Examples turn an abstract instruction into a concrete, replicable action. There's just no room for misinterpretation.
So let's use that file management example. Instead of a manager saying, pack the files, which is a perfect example of lazy, fuzzy thinking.
Pack the files can mean anything. Zip them, upload them, rename them. It just invites chaos. The expressed instruction has to be almost maniacally specific.
But what does that sound like?
It sounds like, I want you to pack each final output file, it's a .wav, put it in a new folder called fixed files, and make sure every single file is labeled with the recording date, then the take number. For example, 0105237.wav.
Okay, that is meticulous, but what's the payoff? Why is that extra minute of typing worth it?
Because it removes what the sources call the mountain-high cost of coordination. The next person who gets that file, or the next automated script that runs on it, knows exactly what to do. You've just eliminated 15 minutes of friction for 20 people down the line. The savings are exponential.
This friction cost.
Yeah.
It's exactly what Andy Grove, the legendary CEO of Intel, was talking about with his famous line cook example.
Grove's pancake story is essential. The rookie cook is perfectly capable of the skill. He can flip a pancake.
Sure.
But the boss forgets the key instruction, the spec. Make sure they are golden brown on both sides. The rookie flips it once, assumes it's done, sends out a raw pancake, and you get a customer complaint.
So the cook had the skill. He failed because of the missing spec.
Precisely. And this is so important today when skill is so easy to get. You can watch a YouTube tutorial and learn a new software in an afternoon.
Right, skill's a commodity now.
It is. The bottleneck is almost always the missing spec. The clear instruction, the checklist, the definition of done, not the missing skill. If you don't define the standard, skill is useless.
So the leader's job is to enforce mental alignment between their brain and their employee's brain. How do we do that efficiently?
With precise checklists, detailed spec sheets, and focus one-on-ones. A veteran employee eventually invents their own internal checklist because they've learned the boss's preferences through years of trial and error.
But that's incredibly slow and expensive.
It's horribly inefficient. The modern leader's job is to abstract that context out. Write the what it's like to work with me document. Give it to them on day one. It's a massive context download that just accelerates the whole learning curve.
This idea really clicks when we look at senior roles. I was fascinated by the source that reframed senior engineers not as coding geniuses, but as highly paid context repair technicians.
It's a perfect and kind of cynical analysis of how wasteful companies are, a senior engineer isn't necessarily 3 times faster at writing standard code.
So why are they paid so much?
They're highly paid because they hold the keys to all the accumulated context. They know the messy legacy code base, the company's internal politics, all the problems that have been tried and failed before.
So when management sends them an underbaked brief,
a vague request, which happens constantly, the senior engineer can just bypass the manager, fill in all the missing context themselves, and solve the problem.
So we are paying a $300,000 salary to repair the poor communication of a $100,000 manager.
That is exactly what is happening. It is an organizational failure. You are paying a massive premium for context repair. If that engineer spends half their day just trying to figure out what the manager meant to ask for, the company is burning hundreds of thousands of dollars on pure friction.
All right, let's take all this theory about context and apply it to a really high-stakes scenario, launching a startup.
Yeah, we're moving into this detailed case study of launching an error-free pancake business in Bangalore. This is where the AI-human mesh really gets put to the test.
It's a fantastic real-world example. So the leader is prompting a deep research AI tool, not just for some ideas, but for a number-dense, actionable business plan.
And that initial prompt has to be incredibly dense with constraints. It's not optional.
Right. The leader provides the specific location, not just India, but Hebel, Bangalore. A strict budget of $50,000 per month operational, plus upfront equipment, and the mission. Develop a number-dense 1-year business plan detailing who to hire, how to acquire customers, and all equipment costs.
It's like telling the literal genie, here are the exact walls of the sandbox. Now you fill in everything inside it and tell me where the landmines are. You're using the AI to force yourself to be clear.
And this is where the key discovery happens. A good AI tool doesn't just blindly spit out a plan.
No. The sources say a good AI deep research tool acts as the ultimate context enforcer. It's like a genie that wears glasses and understands fiduciary duty. It immediately starts asking you to fill in more context.
This is the behavior you want from a great employee, too.
It is. The AI becomes this tireless, skeptical thought partner. Its job is to find the ambiguity in your own plan. And the sources listed the follow-up questions it asked.
And they were critical questions.
Absolutely. Things a smart human would ask, but the AI asks them instantly. Will this be a physical dine-in location or delivery only?
Which completely changes your staffing and rent costs.
Totally. What type of pancakes? Belgian, American, savory.
Right.
That changes your equipment and your supply chain. Do you have existing equipment? What are your operating hours? Will you hire a chef or are you cooking?
If the person hadn't clarified delivery only, the AI would have factored in tables and chairs and front-of-house staff, and the budget would be blown from day one.
The AI's refusal to proceed without clarity saved the startup from a massive miscalculation before a single dollar was spent. It trains the leader to think more deeply.
Okay, so once the AI has this corrected, dense context, it gives you the comprehensive list: appliances, salaries, permits, marketing. But now we get to the most important human step, the AI bullshit test.
Yes. The AI generates a massive list of facts, but it doesn't know ground truth. It has no access to hyperlocal, up-to-the-minute reality.
It might have pulled a cost for a refrigerator from a blog post that's 5 years old.
Exactly. Or a salary figure from a national average that has no bearing on Hebel, Bangalore. The numbers are frequently and dangerously wrong. And this is where the human director becomes irreplaceable.
The human's job shifts from idea generation to real-time verification.
You have to pick up the phone. The AI bullshit test is taking every single number the AI gives you and verifying it against the real world right now.
So the AI suggests a head cook's salary is 15,000 rupees a month.
And the human leader calls 3 local restaurants in their neighborhood and finds out the actual market rate is 30,000. That one phone call just saved the entire financial model from being a complete fantasy.
And those errors would compound. If the salary is wrong by 100% and the rent and electricity costs are also based on old data, the whole plan is worthless.
Correct. The human verifies the utility bill by calling the local power company. They research the exact cost of local permits. They check the current price of high-quality flour from a local supplier. The human provides the ground truth and avoids the AI's hallucination.
So in the end, what does this meshed world look like in this case study?
It's a true partnership. The AI handles the skill stuff. generating the exhaustive checklist, making sure you don't forget any edge cases, providing that initial burst of thoroughness.
And the human.
The human's unique value is putting in the real numbers, performing the bullshit test, and then executing all the critical soft skills, picking up the phone, negotiating the lease, selling the vision, hiring the actual people. You just can't launch a real-world business by doing only one of those things.
All right, so the business is launched. The challenge now shifts from planning to ongoing management. And the sources argue that a leader needs to stop being a constant motivator, they call it a Zumba trainer, and start setting smart, autonomous incentives.
Right. If your team only works hard when you're in the room giving a pep talk, you haven't built a system. You've just built a dependency on yourself.
So you want an autonomous system. And just like we outsourced the initial research to AI, the sources say we can outsource the design of the incentives too.
Yeah, you can leverage this global knowledge base. You go to an AI like OpenAI and you give it the complete, dense context and the non-negotiable goals.
So you'd prompt it with something like,
design a compensation scheme for a small pancake business. It must prioritize profitability, strictly prevent waste, and it has to be simple enough for all staff to understand immediately.
and the AI can draw on, what, thousands of business books and case studies to design that?
Exactly. It's pulling from game theory, organizational psychology, knowledge that no single manager could possibly have. It's looking for time-tested, optimal incentive structures.
And the pancake business case study gives us a brilliant example of a double incentive structure that's designed to be self-regulating.
It's so elegantly balanced. So, incentive 1 is all about sales. A 5% cut of total monthly sales is put into a bonus pool, but only if sales hit a high target, say $70,000.
So that encourages everyone to sell.
Aggressively. But here's the guardrail, the crucial part. Incentive 2 is about waste prevention. The entire sales bonus is immediately forfeited if the total food cost percentage goes above a strict limit, like 30%.
So you can't just burn through ingredients or make sloppy pancakes to hit the sales number. It forces quality control and accountability.
You got it. It makes them act like owners. And then the bonus split is clear. 60% to the head cook, 40% to the helper. It's a tight system that a human leader might have taken years of trial and error to perfect.
But even the best system can be broken by a manager who can't see what's really happening. This brings us to the idea of unreliable narrators.
This is such a deep insight into managerial blind spots. The source gives us the editor case study. Management kept hearing from certain teams about poor work-life balance, everyone's working late.
The classic complaint.
So they investigate. And the finding was just staggering. New teams, 2 editors were taking 2 full days to edit 1 short video. Meanwhile, experienced editors were doing the same work in 30 minutes.
That is an unbelievable difference in speed. What was the cause?
It was a total lack of shared context and resources. 50 to 60% of the new team's time was just wasted trying to find B-roll.
The background footage, stock images, meme templates.
All of it. They hadn't been given the keys to the organized, high-context library of assets that the veterans had built up over time. So they were operating at like 1/5 the speed.
And this creates the unreliable narrator. A manager sees an employee staying late, and the immediate assumption is, wow, they're so dedicated, or our workload is too high.
That's the trap. You're looking at the output, the late hours, without understanding the input, which is that 60% of their time is wasted due to a systemic organizational failure. The real solution isn't to hire more people, it's to provide better context and training.
This also has to be incredibly demoralizing for the high performers.
Of course. They finish their work efficiently in 8 hours, but the person who struggles for 12 hours because they're inefficient gets perceived as the harder worker. Unreliable narration just completely poisons your data and your culture.
And we see this distortion at a macro level too, when incentives are misaligned. The real estate example is just mind-boggling.
It's the real-world consequence of bad incentives. The sources talk about a public real estate company that would rather let a multi-million-dollar floor of an office building sit completely empty for 5 years than rent it out below a certain price.
Why on earth would they do that?
Because renting it at the actual lower market rate would force them to reevaluate the entire building downwards. That would hurt their stock price, which in turn hurts the executive bonuses.
So they're prioritizing a fictional number on a balance sheet over actual revenue from a real tenant.
It's a complete inversion of economic sense. The incentives are rewarding the protection of a false narrative, not the creation of actual value. It's an unreliable narrator at the scale of a whole corporation.
We've talked a lot about business plans and spec sheets, but AI isn't just for text. It's becoming absolutely essential for getting clarity in creative fields.
Yeah, where the idea in the leader's head is abstract and hard to describe.
Right. That abstract to concrete leap is the source of endless frustration and friction in creative work. A director says, I want the mood to be dark and brooding.
And that means 20 different things to 20 different people on the crew. AI is the bridge.
So how does that process start?
It starts with structured prompting for mood boarding. A leader can use GPT to get funky, interesting textual ideas for a thumbnail style or a visual campaign. Then they take those detailed text outputs and feed them into a visual tool like a Nanobana or V3 to get specific, high-quality visual references.
So the goal is to stop the team from just delivering random outputs and hoping one sticks.
Exactly. The new standard is that the team sends references back first. They ask, is this the style, tone, and composition you're aiming for?
That immediately locks in the creative context.
It does. It moves the conversation from arguing about vague feelings to iterating on a concrete shared reference point.
And AI can go way beyond just general mood boards, right? They can get into extremely niche technical direction.
Oh, absolutely. The sources give this powerful example of shooting a scene where a character has a panic attack.
If you just tell the director, make him look panicked, you get a cliche.
You get bad acting. But the specific prompt to the AI is dense. I'm shooting a video where the main character has a panic attack. Give me movie references for that scene, specifically including camera angles and camera movement or shakes.
And the output from that is?
It's incredibly valuable and technically granular. The AI will reference iconic scenes like the driveway collapse in The Sopranos or the PTSD scene in Iron Man 3, but the real gold is the technical detail. It'll say, start with a calm, wide two-shot, then use a hidden edit to jump cut to a shaky, handheld 35mm close-up on the trigger word.
That's not just an idea. That's a literal instruction set for your camera operator and your editor, and you can push it further.
For sure. You can then ask the AI, okay, now give me similar references, but from French New Wave films or Korean dramas. It surfaces these time-tested, high-quality executions from all over the world that you would never have found otherwise.
Which brings up a big philosophical question. Is using a reference like that stealing?
The sources argue pretty strongly that it's not. The reference gives you the structural clarity, but the act of executing it with your actors, your location, your lighting, your crew, it transforms the idea into a totally unique output. The final product becomes your own style.
And the tech for this is just getting better and better.
It is. You have tools that can generate a high-fidelity image from an idea, so you can replicate the exact camera angle in real life, or another tool that can take a script and generate comic book panel references for every single shot.
So the key for any leader, creative or otherwise, is to use AI as the bridge.
The bridge from the abstract idea that only exists in your head to a concrete, shareable reference for the team. Without that reference, you're just asking for random guesswork.
Okay, let's bring this all home and shift back to managing people. Because the ultimate test of a leader's clarity and responsibility comes down to performance management.
Yeah, this is where a leader's lack of clarity can literally ruin someone's career.
The sources stress the concept of prudence. Before you let anyone go, you have an ethical and professional duty to prove you gave them crystal clear context and expectations in writing.
You cannot fire someone for failing to meet a standard that only existed in your head.
So what does that specific prudent feedback look like? It has to be clinical, right? Almost numerical.
It has to be. You have to remove all subjective interpretation. The leader wrote something like, by the end of the next 60 days, you must be consistently editing a video of this specific quality. And you link to an example. And you must deliver the first draft link within 8 hours of receiving the assets.
And then you add the benchmark.
Yes. Editor A, B, and C, who have your level of experience, are performing this task effortlessly. You are measurably lagging here. This is the clear expectation for continued employment.
It's a formal performance improvement plan, but framed as a detailed spec sheet. It sets the quality, the metric, the benchmark, and the deadline. There's no ambiguity.
And the underlying principle here is firm but optimistic. The sources say everyone can improve unless there's an attitude problem. Skill is rarely the real reason someone loses their job. By providing this clarity, the leader is being prudent. If the performance isn't met, You can part ways knowing you gave them every possible chance to succeed.
This connects directly to what the sources call the sunshine test,
which is a great mental model for any leader. You should operate as if everything you say and do could be made public.
So you ask yourself, if this email or this decision was printed on the front page of the New York Times tomorrow, would I be ashamed?
Exactly. If the action is prudent, ethical, necessary, and based on clear context, you stand by it. If you'd be afraid of how it looks, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
And what's the cost of failing that test? What's the price a company pays for a weak manager?
Weak managers are afraid of confrontation, so they're afraid to fire low performers. And in exchange for avoiding one difficult conversation, they lose their high performers.
Because the high performers won't tolerate it.
A players will not stay in a group project where they're doing 90% of the work. They'll just leave for a company where their efforts are matched.
At the end of the day, you're only as good as your weakest link, especially if that person has that mountain-high cost of coordination.
That coordination friction is a silent killer. If you spend 20 minutes a day managing 9 people combined, but 4 hours managing the 10th person, that 10th person is a net drain on the entire organization, no matter how good their technical skills are.
So let's talk about the final step, the ultimate AI integration for a leader. Right now, a leader is still writing dozens of emails, hundreds of messages a week. AI can speed that up.
The future isn't just about speeding it up, it's about deep contextual proxying. The ultimate goal, and the sources say it's not very far away, is working so closely with your AI that it knows enough about you.
It knows your style, your risk tolerance, your priorities.
It knows your detailed context on every single teammate. So instead of spending 30 minutes carefully crafting that performance review email,
you just instruct your AI. Draft the 60-day performance review for teammate X based on this week's metrics. Use the tone from the last prudent review I sent.
And it does it perfectly. The AI knows you, it knows the business context, and it knows exactly where the teammate is lagging against the spec sheet. It drafts the perfect, high-context, prudent communication in your voice.
And that frees up the human leader for what?
For the highest level work. Strategy, vision, and those irreplaceable human soft skills. That's the end goal of mastering clarity, to automate the delivery of context so the human is liberated. #tag outro.
That was an incredibly dense, high-context, deep dive. So let's quickly synthesize the most impactful takeaways for you, the learner. First, writing and prompting. It's the active, profound act of providing context.
Yeah. If your thinking is fuzzy, your writing will be fuzzy, and your execution will be completely random.
Second, always treat your AI and your new hires like that literal genie. If you're vague, the results will be literal, unconstrained, and probably not what you wanted.
And third, clear spec sheets, checklists, and unambiguous examples are not optional. They are the non-negotiable requirement for success. Remember, the bottleneck is almost always a missing spec, not a missing skill.
And finally, the future is this meshed world. Your value as a human is to manage the context, to run that AI bullshit test and input the real verified numbers, and to execute the judgment and soft skills that machines just can't replicate yet.
And a final thought from the sources on endurance. This journey, building these systems of clarity, it's a long game. It's a 10-year journey, not a 3-year sprint. So it's crucial to actually enjoy the process and maintain that endurance rather than burning out. The joy is in the clarity you create.
So you now understand that clarity is both a power and a responsibility. Your challenge this week isn't just to use AI to generate more ideas, but to use it to force yourself to gain that rigorous clarity that defines real leadership.
Start today. Use these principles. Write down your top 3 strategic workloads or problem statements. For each one, draft the full high-context spec sheet with metrics, with examples, with all the non-negotiable constraints. If you can define it clearly for an AI, you can define it clearly for your team. And that clarity is how you truly lead in this new meshed world.